Well, this is a day of gratitude, isn't it? A day of applause and saluting, as well it should be, but there's just simply never any sense that we have saluted and applauded enough as we continue our special tribute here on Veterans Day. By the way, the parade is going to start in just a few minutes, and if you want to get down to Central Avenue, it's perfectly all right. But if you want to get to the parade route a little late, that's okay too, because it's going to go on for quite a while. I'd like you to stay and meet Wayne Wicklund, who's a Vietnam veteran. And Wayne, tell me about where you served, what your rank was, and let us recognize you as a happy civilian now.
Very happy civilian now. I served from 1968 to 1972. I was in Vietnam from 1969 to 1970. I was in a unit called Army Security Agency. And I first started out in I Corps, Da Nang area, and the units I was involved in there, they provided intelligence and operations that involved North Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. And then after I left I Corps, I went to 3 Corps to a fire base called Long Tan North, which I understood a couple years later became a large base camp, which I missed out on. I was there when there was nothing but a little dirt and in between rubber plantations. And
they saved the glamour for later.
Yeah.
But you served over there during that period of time that is highly provocative and still much discussed. And you are, of course, as aware of contemporary news as any of us are. Is there any way that you can compare the America now and the America then, America with the debate about Iraq?
Well, I think this situation is very clearly defined. I mean, our country was attacked, and everybody knows that if we don't have these soldiers over in Iraq and Afghanistan, these people are going to be here. So I think in that way, they're very lucky because everybody now sees the need for their service, and you can see it. If you just go to any airport, a soldier comes through in uniform and they'll say hi and thank you, and you hear all these nice comments.
But how tragic that it didn't happen then to so many of those returning veterans like yourself.
It was a completely different situation. And I remember the first airport when I came back in California, and my wife even said to me just the other night, "You're a baby killer," and I'm going, "What are you talking about?" You know, as I'm walking down through the airport, I was thinking, what are they talking about? You know, I couldn't understand it. But then again, people here were watching the news and seeing all different things on TV. Well, the whole time I was over in Vietnam, I didn't even hear a regular American radio talk show or anything. I heard all Vietnamese music. So I never knew really what was going on because in my spare time I slept. I slept as much as I could because you didn't know when you're going to sleep. So I never heard regular radio or anything like that.
I'm glad it's different now, although I think that it breaks America's heart to think that we, any of us, so personally left our political feelings at your doorstep when you came back. But hopefully it's forgiven now after these years. Let me ask you about how it is that you've gotten involved with hearing impairment.
Well, the last place I was stationed, the place called Long Tan North, we had artillery pieces were 155 howitzers, and night and day they'd go off, and of course you'd sleep 100, 200 yards tops from them. And that going off didn't help, and all the other noises. So I think basically it kind of started there, and then it just continued on through the years, but I didn't really realize it until it finally became such a problem.
And this is your own personal impairment.
Correct.
That became such a problem that you had to do something about it, but you've also done something, with only a couple of minutes left, you've done something for others, vets and non-vets alike.
Well, my wife actually did. She'd see me coming home from work frustrated because people would talk to me and I wouldn't hear them. They either think I was stuck up or, you know, other reasons, and I wouldn't know they were talking to me. And she said, there's got to be a way to help this. So what she did is first came up with a pen, says hearing impaired.
And if we could get a tight close-up right over here, Chris, because this is one of the things that our guest makes available.
And that led to other products such as stand-up signs that can be used on desks. So if you're working, people will see these signs and know you can't hear. So they'll come up and touch you on the shoulder, especially in hospitals, and especially at places like the VA hospital or any kind of hospital like that. When a person is deaf or hearing impaired, people know this person can't hear them, and then they'll come up and they'll communicate with them differently.
With less than a minute left, it isn't at all unusual for people, though, to not want you to know. Isn't that true?
That's true. Sometimes that isn't all bad, too.
Because you don't have to apologize for missing out on stuff you didn't want to hear.
That's
anyway.
right.
So how do we find out that? How are the people right now who have the television set cranked up so they can hear, how can they find out about more?
They just go to the web address of hearingimpaired.net. That has all the products on there that we provide, and there's a whole array of them, and also some service dog products are coming up now for our hearing dogs that we're involved in.
Some of my favorite animals, and we've had them on the air. We love the idea of now service animals throughout, not just the dogs, but it's remarkable how many areas of service that animals have now been trained to do. I thank you very much, not only for being here once again, but as with our other guests, for your service to the country.
Thank you, and God bless our country.
We will be back in just a moment with some closing thoughts on this Veterans Day. Hey, I can just make it to the parade.